We are going to go live, and Greg's left, of course. Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Beer Analysis 101, Show and Swill edition with your host, Maxwell Starr, and
I
everybody's
have a hole in my
favorite
shirt, Nick.
hole in his shirt, Greg.
Hi.
Tonight is our November edition of Show and Swill. So we brought beers. Nobody knows what we bought yet. Let's start off with who showed up first. Lady Lee.
Oh, I showed up first. What?
Yeah, you did.
That's a first.
What? It is a first, I think.
Yeah. Usually I'm like the last one who shows up. Okay, so
well,
I bought a. Oh my god, what was it called now? So I went to the LCBO and I was looking for like cool beers, and I found this Scotland pack where it was like some favorites in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and turns out I made a good choice because Lee said that he'd been looking for this pack and cannot find it. So I got him to choose the flavor that I was doing because there's 4 different kinds. So he, of course, picked the one that I don't know how to pronounce, but it's Ebelum, and it's elderberry black ale. Ebelum. Anyways,
I think we got that pack a few years ago.
Interesting.
I assume you got it this year, right?
Ontario.
I got it this year, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Heard of that brewery.
Williams Bros Brews. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna go get the pack. So if you want to go on to someone next, I'll go get the pack.
Yep. All right. Let's go over to everybody's. Well, it's Greg. Hey, Greg.
I'm the only Greg you have to choose from.
You're right. Well,
today you've got a different angle. You got a dark door behind me. So it'd be kind of cool if I'm doing a beer review and all of a sudden, like Michael Myers or some equal murderer comes up behind me and stabs me live on camera.
And then Agnes Myers.
Then, well, there we go. And then the show becomes evidence.
It's all on camera, except for nobody actually watches this stuff except for Mr. Lee. So, Greg, what did you bring with you tonight? Which double temper did you bring, or bring it? You're dead.
I did not bring out Your Dead. I brought a beer that we've actually angled before, but this is an aged vintage of it. It's a Thomas Hardy's Ale.
Oh. And
this month it turns 5 years old. As Paul of PA Brewers would say, it's just become drinkable. And we're going to pop it open and see if it's any good.
You know, that's crazy. It's that's 5 years old already. I mean, I still got a bottle you sent me. I'm not drinking it tonight, of course, but
I think when I got it, it was already aged for a year or two at the LCBO. Like it wasn't fresh at the LCBO.
Let's admit it though. You're drinking Thomas Hardy's because it says Hardy on the bottle.
Yes, exactly. I've been planning this for 5 years just so I could get Lee and be like, "Look, Lee, I'm drinking a Hardy."
Hardy har har.
Hardy har har.
It's my cousin's beer.
Oh. Well,
not actually,
but I'll take it.
It's not actually. I always say anytime I hear the name Hardy in anything, I'm like, it's my cousin. Doesn't matter what it is. I always just say my Hardy. Anyways, this is the pack. It's called Historic Ales from Scotland.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
They're
all the same. Like, who makes that stuff? Like, it's
Williams Brothers Brewing Company.
Yeah, and so it's a consistent Christmas pack. I can't remember if it was around last year, but it's been around for about 5 or 6 years. Where every year they release, it's like one of the LCBO constants.
It's cool. I thought it was cool. I thought it was something I haven't tried yet. I thought I saw Heather Ale, and I was like, okay, let's do this. I've never had a Heather Ale before. Nice. But the one I picked for tonight is an elderberry black ale. And it's 6.5%.
I'm pretty sure I've had a Heather beer before too. It's actually kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, it was. I just thought it looked cool. It was something interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, most of them I haven't never tried, so figured it'd be fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lady Lee, and also thank you, Greg, for not talking over Lady Lee. But now it's my turn to show off the beer. I'm the one that brought a macro beer. I brought a macro beer. This one's from Moosehead. This one's Moosehead's small batch Imperial Mint Chocolate Stout.
Ooh.
Which admittedly is kind of weak for a stout. It's 8.1. But we'll give it a try anyway. I know Lee knows this one. He's already had it. I just haven't watched his review yet. But yeah, I picked this one up directly from the brewery. Actually, I'll get into my history when we circle back for that anyway. But who wants to read comments? I mean, you know what?
Who wants to read Lee?
Lee, you want to read Lee?
I will read Lee.
Lee will read Lee comments.
I could do that.
Really?
There's hardly anybody else other than Lee there.
I feel like
hardly.
So Lee Russell says, I feel like I may not live much longer. So what's next week's beer? I do hope you do survive because we still have a few movies to do podcasts on. So like I just made my pick this month. Like come on now. You can't die yet. Lee is looking fine tonight. Thank you. It was a date night.
How about the rest of us?
So I got dressed up. Well, I got kind of dressed up.
I like your pearl necklace.
Thank you. I was hoping to have one tonight.
Oh yeah.
Then Lee Russell says you got the abilum. I don't know how to pronounce. I really don't know how to pronounce this. I'm trying so hard.
You're gonna have an embolism to saying embolum.
Abulum.
Oh, embolism.
Abulum. Anyways, I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. Someone can yell at me later. And then Lee Russell says, I was telling Lee, it's a pack I've always wanted since I first started reviewing, but never could get it. Then Lee Russell says, holy shit, Greg pulling out the big guns. Something no woman has ever said.
I mean, hey.
He's got a point.
Lee Russell with the final comment saying, you're telling me you've never heard of it, Nick? It's been around for more than a decade.
I've never had the opportunity to get it. So
yeah, well, it's unfortunate. It's a shelf turn in Ontario, but apparently difficult to get in other places. So
yeah,
it's kind of like now you can get so many great things in the U.S. that it just doesn't ship to Canada anymore. Like Bourbon County Stout.
Telling Lee I was looking into possibly shipping one, but shipping's so fucking expensive right now. Like to get anything anywhere.
Everything's gone up in price just across the board.
Well, whether this would help you or not, I don't know. But Canada Post has prepaid shipping boxes that you literally buy the shipping box. Anything you can fit in there, I believe it's 5 kilogram limit.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah,
those for the set price. Like the boxes includes the postage and the price. So you sometimes I like Chad, the albino rhino, rest in peace. He used to get me to ship him stuff out to buttfuck nowhere. And it was actually cheaper for me to just buy the box for like $25 than to actually go to the post office and calculate shipping. It was like $25 versus like $45 or something like that.
Good to know. Yeah.
All right. So let's go right back around. Actually, we'll start with Lee and say what's your history with this beer? Obviously, you kind of talked a little bit about what's going on. I know you don't actually have a history with it yet, except for the first few zips of that glass, but.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I was trying to find something interesting, looking because my issue is the most interesting beer I found was the one that I randomly like pulled out from the back of the fridge, so it's gonna be hard to compete. So I have been actually trying to look for stuff that I haven't tried yet because I think it's just been a little bit over a year that I've been trying all these different beers. So there's still a lot out there. Anyways, I came around a strawberry beer that I wanted to try that I'd never tried. And then I came around this, and this looked a lot more interesting. So I went with this.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. And Greg, what's your history with this beer?
I'm trying to see the first time I've checked it anyway. I mean, this batch that I bought that I think I sent you a few bottles of is the first and only time I've had Thomas Hardy's. And I checked it in on February 2019. So that's probably about where I bought these bottles because there are a bunch of them. I kind of wish I'd bought more, but English barley wines are never really my big thing. If it was stouts, I would have got them all. But yeah, 2019, and this is a 2017 vintage. So the LCBO already aged it for like 2 years. So aging it for another 3 years wasn't such a big deal. First and only time I've had it. I don't know if I said this online or I said this offline at some point, but forgive me if I'm repeating myself. A restaurant near me, right when COVID started, they were a bit desperate for business. This is right when it started, and they weren't sure what the hell was happening. So they started selling off their whole cellar. And I didn't get a chance to go up there, but they were selling like, I think the oldest one was like 15-year-old vintages of Thomas Hardy and other beers that are also similar old. And they weren't selling them for that much. They were like, I'm going to say like around $15 a bottle or something like that. Like it was very reasonable considering this beer had been sitting there forever. So I was like, man, I kind of wish I'd gotten in. Ewart, again, rest in peace, Ewart. I don't think he's alive anymore. But I think he may have gone out to that. I don't remember if he did or not, or if he said he wanted to, but I think he may have gone out to that and bought a few things because he was like going nuts over some of the shit they had available. But then again, he's a little less close to Toronto than I am. So.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, I'm just looking at my Untapped, and you sent me a bunch of bottles. I think you sent me 3 or 4, and I drank. Yeah, you sent me 4 bottles. I sent one to Lee, I think. Either that or you sent a pure mail to Lee at one point. Because I thought I sent one to Nova. Anyway, I'm pretty sure one was sent to him somehow because we did a beer analysis on it around that time. And I remember I've had it twice, and I still have 1 bottle left. I'm pretty sure they all came from you.
Everything good comes from me.
Right.
That's why he's never had children.
Now you're drinking
that I'm aware of.
Now you're drinking a 5-year-old bottle of beer, which is just like me, Greg.
That's right. Except it's not an IPA.
All right. Actually, it's usually just an old Belgian beer that I should have drank years ago. All right. So this one here, the history I have with Moosehead Small Batch Imperial Mint Chocolate Stout. I bought this at the brewery at this past weekend. $12 a bottle. This is actually kind of the second time they've released their Imperial Stout. Obviously, this is the first time this has been released in a flavored form. I'm trying to remember when it was exactly a few years ago that they released. It might have been like 2018, 2019 that they released a Imperial Stout in a big fancy bottle about this size too. With almost the same kind of label, but it was like $16, $17 a bottle, and this one here I bought at the brewery for $12. So hey, that's not bad considering that this is a price reduction and it's a special version of it. Use it with mint chocolate added, and it's mentions on the side that it's peppermint and dark chocolate, so it's obviously going for that after 8 kind of flavoring. Hey, it's just past 8% ABV, so it is literally after 8. But
see what they did there. It's almost like they named it on purpose.
Hey, look, it says 80 SRM, 8.1 ABV, and 50 IBUs.
Wow.
That's actually, it is quite bitter, but I'll get into that. I'll get into that momentarily. Ooh, look at that side thing. It says Moosehead limited edition.
That's definitely limited, all right.
So yeah, like I remember my impressions of the original Imperial Stout that they released, however long it was ago. And I remember it being on the thin side. And the last bottle I had of it was when it went on clearance, I think, like a year later. So I was like, hey, wonder how well a bottle of this aged, and it did not. It's just, if anybody gets a bottle of Moosehead's Imperial Stout, it's disappointing in the fact that I would tell you not to age this thing, because the last one I had was vinegar. But then again, could be just something that had gotten into the beer, like a rogue bacteria got into the beer back in the early days of when they had just started the small batch brewery. Maybe the bottling would be better on this one. But I honestly don't think I might buy more of this just to drink over the holidays. But I don't think I can't see myself saving any of this. But I don't want to get too much into spoilers about how it tastes. All right, so that's me. How many comments do we got?
We have a couple.
All right, I will put you back up there, Lee.
Yeah, Furley was Lee's other choice, like Russell said. That was the one. That is the one. That is the one. He is correct. I couldn't remember the name. I appreciate that he remembers the name. I know Ewart.
Oh,
Ewart sent me one, and I can't recall who sent me the one we did a BAA 101 on. Everyone spoils me too much, so it gets confusing. You are the BA whore. All the boys spoil you. I said that. Lee Russell says.
I was going to say that seemed rude.
Jeez, the poor.
It's because you can't write horror, so I wrote it incorrectly, but you guys get it.
Oh.
That Imperial is a bit thin, but not bad considering it has my nemesis mint in it. Lee Russell, I am a cherry case, more like it. And then I said prostitution beerses, because he's a prostitute for beers.
I mean,
that's
yes,
another way of saying beer slut.
Yeah, pretty much. It was so. I watch a lot of drag queen stuff. So I watched Drag Race, and one of the things they had to do was like make a character and act like them. And the one person said prostitution horses. I don't know what it meant, but I laughed so fucking hard, and every time I just come up with different ways of saying it. So I did steal that, but it makes me laugh every time.
Well, thank you for admitting to your thievery.
You're welcome.
Lee Russell will be by with handcuffs shortly.
It's, I think, a 19-hour drive.
And he doesn't have a car, but he'll find a way.
Well, in that case, I don't know how long his bus ride is, but he'd have to take a bus to Halifax for the airport. And then he'd have to take a plane to either Toronto or Ottawa. And then he would have to take a bus to North Bay. And then you'd have to either walk or cab it to my apartment.
We could really just have a good old time. Just after all that time, he shows up and it's just carrying a wig.
Carrying a wig.
Yeah.
We'll set up both. You're bald. Like Carrie, it's Carrie coming down from North Bay.
Yeah, we'll set up Carrie in a wig in your apartment, and he'll be like, "All right, I'm here, Lady Lee," and it's just Carrie, and he's like, "I drove 19 hours. I don't care."
It's like a 19-hour drive, so I couldn't even imagine if you're not driving. Like it would be a somewhat decent travel-ish. It would be a long distance to travel if you didn't have a vehicle.
He'd be a grumpy grump, is what you're saying.
I could have sworn. I'm just looking at something on my side. I could have sworn. I'm looking at Untapped. Like, when you do Untapped and you do a search, you go into the brewery and you list their beers. They'll actually show when the beers were released, or like they were added on the Untapped. It's usually an approximation of when the brewery released the initial beer. I went to Moosehead's beer list and found the original release of the Imperial Stout. It was like Christmas time of 2019 is when they released it. I could have sworn it was longer than that ago. Maybe it just feels longer because of COVID, but
everything feels longer because of COVID.
It kind of does because COVID. I feel like I melded it together into 1 year, even though it was longer than a year.
Yeah,
so,
feels longer.
Yeah, because I just grouped. Well, so much change had happened and so much restrictions and all sorts of stuff. So everything just kind of, like, honestly, I think the most entertaining thing that happened to me when the lockdowns happened was that I joined this group and played a bunch of games with you guys drunk.
And then the rest is history.
Basically, we made
COVID just like your social life.
Lee Russell, unless you learn how to drive, it's going to be a lot longer than 19 hours. I mean, learn how to drive. I mean, get a license in a car. It's a lot longer than 19 hours.
It's 19 hours because he had to take a bus.
I know, but the good thing is he takes the bus, he can just sleep the whole time, and then he's all...
19 hours to drive. It's even longer for Lee. Mr. Lee. Anyway.
I wonder if you could... Oh, maybe. That'd be interesting.
What if we drugged him and threw him on a plane?
I wonder if you could just take you could take the Via. So you could take a train to... It leaves Halifax and then goes to Montreal. And then you just have to take another train from Montreal. Oh, no, I lied. That'd be Alexandria. But you'd have to take a bus to Montreal to North Bay.
There we go. This is how Lee Russell's going to make it.
These are all the travel ways of getting to Halifax. Interesting information.
It might be just easier for him to visit Nick instead. I mean, put the right wig on Nick, and I mean, he could look a little like Lady Lee. Give Nick a nice pearl necklace. Why not?
All right, let's keep moving here. Lady Lee, what's your thoughts on this thing?
Okay, It's a. I don't know why he made me pick this one.
Bastard.
It's a black ale. So I find anything dark is very yeasty. So there is like a very dominant yeast flavor that's going on. But I do have to say it's not nearly as bad as what I usually say. Like I am getting some flavors to it, like some fruity notes to it. So it does taste like berries. I wouldn't be able to like depict an elderberry because I have no idea what the fuck elderberries taste like. But I do get that like berryish taste to it. So it is better than what I expected because I was concerned at first. I'm pulling a Greg and just drinking and figuring out my thoughts at the same time.
That's the only way to go. You can't all be Ashley Sexton.
The first time I go first too, so it's a little nerve wracking. Yeah, it has a light taste to it, like a light berry taste to it. For anybody who likes a darker beer, I think they would really enjoy this because it still has that like dark beer taste to it, like that dark ale taste to it, or black ale taste to it. But it is not dominated by the fruit flavor. Like it's just a kind of hint in the background, so it adds a little bit of a different taste to otherwise like yeasty black beer. So I don't mind it actually. I'm honestly surprised. I don't mind it at all. I do think it tastes good. So I'm gonna say for style, it's hard for me to go style because it's like I haven't really had many of these. Like I tend to avoid them. But I'm gonna go high anyway because it tastes good. It doesn't have too much. I don't. It's the label describes what I'm supposed to be tasting, so I think that's a good sign. So I'm gonna go for a 9 for style, and for personal preference, I'm gonna go a 7. That's more just because I'm not a huge fan of like darker beers in general, but I do think that this one is a lot better than what I expected. So.
Hey.
That is my thoughts and opinions.
Alrighty. MOO, your own opinion?
I was like 2 days old ago that I figured out that meant my own opinion. I thought moo was just something Chris.
I thought moo was just a thing. I thought it was a typo.
Cow.
I know because back in the day he used to say like stuff was very smooth. So I thought that was just like a hashtag.
Well, the MOO predated that. The smooth thing was from Pascal on Gee's channel.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought Chris was just saying. I didn't realize moo stood for my own opinion.
I think it was because like Pascal was inebriated and saying, "Oh, it's smooth," because he's not finishing the word smooth.
I didn't fucking know either. Like, how am I supposed to know that? How? There's so many fucking acronyms now that I have no idea. I just ignore them. I'm like, oh fuck it. I don't need them to understand the sentence. Like, just use the fucking words.
Moo, MOO, my own opinion. Anyway, it was. Yeah,
it's now moo.
Who watches Chris's channel anyway? He doesn't do reviews anymore.
He does. He's retired from the BeerTube community for 1 year.
He's retired for 1 year because he wants to make a big deal of it. Love you, Chris. Anyway, so yeah, thank you for that, Lady Lee. Let's move over to Gorg.
I always like Chris's channel because Chris likes everything. It doesn't matter how bad the beer is. It's just like he's like Mikey. He'll eat it. He loves it. Oh, hi Chris, I love you.
Hey Mikey.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even know where to go with this beer because this is just a style I don't gravitate towards. I don't really like barley wines or English barley wines all that much. So I got no clue how I'm going to go with style rating this, but I'll say I do like this. I actually probably should have watched the episode where we did this because I don't remember what I felt about this fresh. I don't think it's all that different. I'm going to say, I mean, there's no carbonation in this. I kind of remember there being some mild carbonation in it before, but that could be my faulty memory. It's got a lot of crap at the bottom. Having to it looks like absolute diarrhea water. Like you just like that. It's just got even little like yeasty chunks in it. Like it's
yeah. That's like a night after drinking.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, I mean it's an absolute. I mean in terms of visual. visualness.
Like night after. It looks like that. Like the day after, the morning after birth control beers is just.
Wow.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure if Nick understands how birth control works necessarily.
Well, I was thinking like that watched House of the Dragon, the tea.
Oh, yeah, yes. Wow.
Now you see what I was going for there.
All right. I get you. Yeah. Slight tangent, but is there any show that had so many goddamn scenes of disgusting birth? Like, oh my goodness.
Oh my God, that was so like fucking
spoilers,
graphic.
but oh my God, that was disgusting.
The weird, the grossest part was the sounds.
Yeah, they were like oddly realistic. I watched this movie. I don't know if anyone's heard of this horror movie. Maybe Lady Lee has. It's called Terrifier. It's came out this year. It's Terrifier 2 actually came out. It's about this killer clown. It's honestly not a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's like ultra gory. Like that was the big thing. They made it ultra gory, and they had a really gory birth scene in it. And I was just like, nah, this isn't as bad as House of the Dragon. This is not nowhere near as bad.
I'll tell you about House of the Dragon. Like when I watched through the series, like whenever the new episodes came on, I listened to most of them with headphones on, so I got to hear all little sound details, and I'm like, "Oh, this is nasty!" Like A+ on the fucking sound design on the show, but still,
And people wonder why some women choose not to have children.
No shit.
Oh, fuck. The amount of times, too, someone will be like, oh, you're how old now? And you haven't had kids yet? Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Fuck off. All right.
My worth is done. I am no longer a valid woman.
Well, actually, sorry, Nick, I just got one more tangent. Is girls at my work used to always bug me, especially mothers, would be like, Greg, come on, convince Agnes, have a baby. Why not? I'd be like, she doesn't want to have it at all. Like, she's not interested. But if you want to have a baby with me, we can do it. We can make it happen. They never took me up on that offer. So
Jesus
what the
Christ.
fuck?
What the fuck?
Like, what the fuck?
Probably because they don't want you to reproduce.
Well, they wanted me to reproduce, just not with them, apparently. So anyways, okay. Now that we're back, let's get back to the diarrhea water beer. This is actually really good. I don't necessarily know. I really should have done my homework and reminded myself. I think on Untapped, I wrote a quick blurb. Let's have a look. I don't love BBWs. Now, I know that's not what I mean. I mean, bourbon barley wines. I think that's what I wrote. Not big, beautiful. But anyway, I don't love BBWs, but this one is quite good. Smooth like a 6% beer. Sweetness complements toffee, dried fruit, and a leathery. Who wrote this? I didn't write this. This is like way too good for me. I must have paid Ashley to write this for me. It is smooth. Like it is incredibly smooth. Like this thing drinks like water. It's 12%. You could give this to a kid, and the kid would drink it like grape juice and would be done.
Give it to a kid. Just get a kid drunk.
Why not?
This is why you don't have children. Let anybody who works with Greg understand now. This is why you do not want Greg to have children.
I believe now this is evidence, and I'm legally not allowed to have children. So yeah, I mean the beer is ridiculously smooth. It is actually quite tasty. It's kind of like it does give me a very British vibe. Like I imagine British people enjoying this at a pub while they're chatting, although it's a little heavy for a British beer and they'd get annihilated, but it's very good. It does have those weird flavors that Ashley typed into my Untapped at some point. It is a bit thin, oddly enough. So I'm saying it's smooth. It's 12%, but it is a bit watery, surprisingly, for such a big beer. And that's kind of what throws me off a little bit about it. But I mean, overall, I like it. It's not really my style per se, but I don't know. I have no clue what to give this for style. Of the few beers I have of this, of this style, I do prefer the GLB Beard of Zeus. I think that one's better. I definitely think this is better than Fuller's Vintage. As you know, I don't like that beer. At least the one time I've had it, I didn't like it. Maybe it's better, and maybe I just had a bad bottle or something. But yeah, overall for the style, I'd say it's probably a good example. I don't necessarily think I would recommend aging this. I would love it if there was a little bit of carbonation, and there's I mean, there's your carbonation, and that's how it's been since I poured it. There wasn't any more, so it's very much a flat beer. So I do think I would actually love to try a super fresh bottle of this. Like if this ever comes out, like 2022 vintage, I'll be all over it because I want to try it. But I'm going to assume it had a little more carbonation back in the day, so I would probably not recommend aging this. But anyway, I'm going to give it a solid 8 for the style. For a style I don't have much experience with, I think it's probably one of the better ones. And personal enjoyment, 7.5. I could go an 8, but you know what? I waited 5 years, 3 years, I guess, in my cellar to have this. And would I say it's worth aging? No, but still 12%, 7.5. It's a tasty beer, but I would, when it comes to the big boys, I'll take an imperial stout just about any day over a barley wine, and that's just my moo.
Moo.
No, that's just moo. I can't say my moo.
It's my own opinion. my own opinion. My moo.
Damn you, Chris Lezak. That's just hashtag moo.
It's just moo.
It is a very smooth beer.
Smooth.
All right, Greg. So, what was your style again? You said 7.5 overall.
8 for style, 7.5 for overall.
All right.
Which I have the feeling is quite a bit lower than when I initially reviewed this beer on Beer Anal, but I think the wateriness and the lack of carbonation is just kind of being like, it's not really working for me as well as I'd love it to. But it's still 12%, and I'm feeling that. So
yeah, he's feeling happy.
Oh yeah.
Get ready for shirts off.
12%, and I'm feeling happy.
It's already started.
I shaved my chesticles today too, so.
Oh, disappointing.
So
I know you don't like that, do you? But
no,
my
I don't.
wife does. So
she's more important than I am.
Say my chest. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
I like furry chests.
The chest hair is like all three of them. All right. All right. Thank you, Greg.
Sorry.
You pull it down further. Let's take a look.
I'm sure Lee's typing in the chat right now. I can confirm no chest hair.
I don't see any.
I don't see any either.
Hey, maybe he passed out and died.
He passed out. Anyway, all right. So, my beer, Moosehead's Imperial Milk Chocolate Mint Chocolate Stout. Yeah, like considering that they remember when I first had it, it was really thin for Imperial Stout, and it's still on the thin side. But it feels weird because usually when you add mint or like something like minty or tart, it like almost feels like it thins out the beer, the body of the beer. This really does feel like it's about as thick as it was before. So that I feel like if they were to brew this recipe and not add mint chocolate, that they'd probably come out with a thicker body than it had before, even at 8.1%. That said, I still think it's actually really good. Like when I consider that when the Moosehead Imperial Stout first came out, it was like $16, $17 for a bottle of beer, which is ridiculous for an 8.1%, calling itself Imperial. And I'm still not overly happy about it being 8.1% ABV. The taste is pretty good. And what I do really like about this thing here is that like when I went into this, I saw like, oh, dark chocolate and peppermint. I'm thinking, ooh, this is gonna taste like an after 8. Well, no, it's not. It's not sweet enough to be after 8. But what it does really kind of taste like is one of those like the little round peppermints that you get, like Gnome peppermints or something you're buying at the drugstore or something like that around Christmas time, and you get these little peppermint patties. It really tastes like peppermint patties in a beer form. It's not super sweet like a candy or anything. But you get the dark chocolate, you get the peppermint in there, and it's got a nice, decent, like moderately decent beer body. That's maybe a little on the thin side. It's a bit thin, like Paul. It's weird that Paul's here. So, Dan saying Grokide cookies maybe not as chocolatey as that. It's a bit more on the mint side, and I wouldn't say that the mint's like super present as well. It's there. It's not so much mint that it's toothpastey, but there's like a hidden like berry fruit underneath it. And on top of that, it's got this nice mild peppermint and dark chocolate presence throughout this beer. I actually like it. And considering that it's $12 a bottle now, that's actually not a bad value when you consider that, hey, it's an imperial stout and for $12 in a bomber sized bottle. But that's kind of a good deal, or what constitutes a good deal these days. I like it. I kind of wish it was heavier in the ABV and maybe a little thicker, but otherwise the flavor profiles, I like this better than the original release. So that's actually pretty decent. So for the style, I'm going to give it an 8. Actually, kind of like it. And when you're talking, considering it's a flavored imperial stout, it could be better, but it's not bad. Overall enjoyment, I'm going to give it a 7.5, just because I don't quite think it's a 4, like a 4 to 5. I feel like it's just slightly behind that. Like it's a 3.75 out of 5, which is my most common rating on Maxwell Stars beer review. But that, at the same time, it's just like kind of fits the bill. Like I think it's a great, decent, middle of the road beer, but I'm not completely wowed by it. I just think it's okay. Anyway, that's my story. So
I'm sticking to it.
All right.
It's moo.
It's my own opinion. Hashtag moo.
Moo.
We're stealing it because Chris isn't using it right now. All right. So
Reading comments?
Yeah, you're reading comments. Okay.
All right, we got a lot. Charity case. None of this is plausible. Thank you, Lee Russell. Lee Russell, keep your fantasies off the hangout, Greg. Keep your
probably referring to him driving 19 hours to have sex with Redbeard in a wig.
Lee Russell, although Lee is worth the 19 hours. Lee Russell, if I did ever go to North Bay, at least part would be.
Holy shit, Lee's actually gonna fly?
Right.
Wow. That's impressive.
Lee Russell, same. Had no idea about moo either.
Who did?
Paul. Hello, Paul.
Oh, Paul.
A +1 on the shit scale. I definitely do not want Greg to have any kind of babies at all.
There's a petition. There's a petition on change.org. So
I think we've all agreed, including Greg.
It's best, yes.
Yeah. Agreed. That would be a mistake from Lee Russell. And then Paul says, I do love BBWs and bourbon barley wines. It's like BBWs, big beautiful women. That's what I think it is.
Big booty bitch.
Well, I don't want Nick to get offended. It could be big beautiful women or big, the word that means dark women.
All right, keep moving on.
There's no N there. What are you talking about?
Oh no! Of
course, Greg thinks of that. Jesus Christ!
No, I didn't. At the end.
All right. Fuck. It's bad enough he's responsible for several dogs. Paul says 100% Lee. We have a Dan in the chat. Oh dear, what did I walk into? What about Greg and kids? Greg shouldn't have kids. That's all. Paul, enough West Coast Nick. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Lee Russell, I mean, Fuller's Vintage is different every year, and it's crap. It's a crap shoot. Dan, easy there, PA, or I'll make you try to find your way up here to drink with me and have many witnesses that you showed up here.
Wow, that's quite the threat.
Is that a threat or a promise? Paul, Fuller Vintage, that's fighting words.
I think Greg was knocking Fuller's Vintage.
It was. The one time I had it, it was fucking awful. But again, Lisa, it's a crapshoot. Maybe he just had a bad bottle.
It's like Greg, going back to the whole Greg having kids and anything. Greg's got almost as many enough dogs that he can trade them in for a plane ticket up north to work for a year.
I mean, I get where you're going with that, Nick, but I don't think you quite.
I don't think I nailed it. All right, so keep going.
There's been shit ones, Paul. Ha 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 ha. Paul again, for the last 3 years, at least, yes. Lee Russell, she only has stiff nipple whiskers.
I think he's referring to your testicles.
He is. He's referring specifically to my nipples. And Western Canadian reviewer, the Girl Guide cookies, which Nick said no.
I get what he means, though.
Now, if we go back to your nipples for a second.
At least the Girl Guide cookies, I mean, while they got the chocolate and the mint, they kind of like have that bready kind of chocolatiness, like with the biscuit part. I don't feel like I get biscuits out of it.
See, I gotta tell you, with Dan, I have the feeling Dan is probably under investigation for buying too many Girl Guide cookies, and he's only in it for the cookies. He's not some weird pervert. He just really likes
he's
Girl
not a
Guide
pervert.
cookies,
He just
and
chases
he keeps
the
luring
Girl
these
Guides
girls
down.
to his house to sell him more cookies.
He's just chasing the little Girl Guides all over the neighborhood to get those cookies.
All I want is your damn cookie.
Dan's always going for their little cookie. I don't know.
We don't have the mint ones, the chocolate mint ones anymore. We only have like the chocolate vanilla ones. And it makes me very sad because I really fucking love the chocolate mint ones.
All right, so
I like the vanilla mint ones.
Lee Russell just said, "What's next week's beer again?"
All right, well, we'll get
We
that
remembered
here in
your
a
question
second.
the first time.
Oh, wow! Your Lee Russell is not going up to North Bay anytime soon.
Jesus, Lee.
Go fuck yourself. I'm not even reading.
Wow.
All right. So Lady Lee is still up on screen here because we want to ask her, of all the beers that you saw here tonight, which one would you have rather have had?
All right, since I already kind of explained that I'm not a big like darker beer person, I probably would go with Greg's. Just because
but it's still kind of dark.
It is dark, but not as dark as the stout.
Yeah, not stout dark for sure.
Yeah. So that is the only reason. Nick's did sound interesting, but just not interesting enough for me to want to try it.
All right, Greg, you're up. Of all the beers here you heard here tonight, which would you rather have had?
Definitely had that beer that Lady Lee had before, and I usually pick up that Scotland pack. It's usually a reasonably good pack that they release at Christmas at the LCBO. So I usually will pick up a pack anyway. Your bottle's exploded.
Yeah, my bottle has exploded. It just hasn't lived in a phone. It's coming.
Foamed over the top.
It's coming.
All right, I'm gonna change. I don't want to be. Okay, I'm changing my tone of back.
We're getting very excited.
Horse blinders are not. Oh God. All right. Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad this is recorded for later. Anyways, I would pick Nick's beer because I've had Lady Lee's beer before, and I'll probably grab the 4-pack again this year because it's when I've had it before, it's been a pretty solid 4-pack of beers. Nick's, I don't think I've had. I'll probably never have. 8.1%. A little weak for an imperial stout, but I do think mint can work in beers. It usually doesn't, but I've had a few examples where it does work, and I think imperial, if you're going to make mint work, and an imperial stout would probably be where you want to stick it.
Exactly.
I have nothing further to say, Nick.
All right.
It was just a very weird way to send it. Your sentence.
I end a lot of things very weirdly.
It was a very odd one.
Yeah, you're always finishing off.
That's my moo.
All right. Yeah, so I was gonna vote for Lee's beer because I not only have had one that Greg's have, but I have another bottle of it sitting over there that I could easily just put in the fridge and drink at some point. But I've been kind of holding on to it to see how much better does it actually get with age.
So
that's
we should ask the chat. We have 3 people in the chatting.
We got Dan, we got Paul, PA Brunos, and we got Lee in the chat. Of all the beers here, you heard it tonight. Which one would you rather have had? If I get the Jeopardy theme, we could play.
R.I.P. Alex Trebek. Please, Lee Russell, don't tell me he molested puppies.
So that's Dan says me. So let's give Lee and Paul a chance to respond.
The darkest the bee. Huh?
The darkest the bee. What the fuck?
I mean, I would take that as maybe a vote for Nick.
You never know with Paul. The darker, the better. I will say that.
Oh, okay.
Is he okay? Well, I do have the darkest beer here.
Yeah, so that sounds like a vote for Nick.
I don't know. It's not confirmation. He didn't say it right.
Mine was dark, but not as dark. I got a vote. Of course. I'm happy. Thank you.
Of course, was it Mr. Lee voted for you, I take it?
Yes. Haha.
Yeah,
But then again, I think you got the other two, so you still win it.
So what do we say? Is that what Paul's talking about? He's talking about the mint chocolate imperial stout.
I'm assuming so because mine was just a black ale.
Yeah, what was the percentage on that thing anyway?
It was 6.5.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
Black ale. Oh.
For us alcoholics, 6.5 is that's like a light beer.
Yeah.
All right, let's just assume that Paul was voting for Big Dick.
Big Dick Nick, I guess. Well,
I
feel at least that's confirmation.
I win with a big dick. Well, I mean,
there's worse ways to win.
6.5 is way too low.
I remember the whole thing is the whole ongoing thing about the big dick was the fact that it's actually a curse. Because having a big dick means it's too big for some ladies. Just you can't, which curtails your sex life. That's the. Anyway, I don't really need to continue this line of thought.
I love Nick getting a little real talk with Nick after he's had a
He's got the rosy cheeks.
Oh fuck yeah! I know I've been getting a little merry with the mint chocolate beer. All right, so next week's beer. Let's put me up and. I kind of was thinking this, depending upon who can get it and who's going to be around next week, because we've done this beer, of course, on Beer Analysis 101. This is going to be a reanalysis episode. We haven't done them in a while, and you know what? Sedum Rose Oatmeal Stout just showed up here again the last little while, and fuck, I love this beer. So great opportunity. Hopefully, maybe Guy will make it next week. But it could be subject to change depending upon what's available, because we only had 3 people tonight, so we got to worry about attendance. Paul, you're allowed to come on here every once in a while too, right? All right. Yeah. So I think that's it. We got an idea what next week's beer is, maybe, and I wanna say thanks for watching and.
And thank you for commenting. It's nice to have some commenters. We got Lee Russell as usual, but it's nice to have Paul. It's nice to have Dan in the chat.
Yeah, I saw as many as 5 viewers there earlier today. So I guess there's only one real way to finish it, and we'll just.
I will say, all you fellas in the chat. I know Lee's not feeling well tonight, but all you fellas in the chat, feel free to join us next time. Bring your favorite beer and tell us all about it, and then you can. Even Paul will let you say your vulgarities live, and Nick will just have to censor them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Greg is full of penis.